They said rules exist to keep things civilized, but some rules exist just to kill joy. Imagine being fined for chewing gum, arrested for dancing, or banned from eating certain foods on certain days. Sounds fake, right? It's not. Around the world, absurd laws have turned festivals into formalities, food into crimes, and fun into violations. Today, we're diving into 50 unbelievably real rules that suck the joy out of life. Rules so ridiculous they'll make you laugh, rage, and question reality. Watch till the end. Because some of these rules still exist. In Singapore, chewing gum is treated like a social contaminant rather than a harmless habit. Since 1992, importing or selling chewing gum has been illegal, except medically approved nicotine gum with a prescription. Tourists have been fined thousands for carrying it unknowingly. Authorities claimed gum vandalized streets and transit doors, but the punishment created fear around something trivial. Cleanliness won, but spontaneity lost. For decades in Japan, dancing after midnight was legally suspicious. A 1948 law originally aimed at regulating brothels ended up criminalizing nightlife. Clubs were forced to close dance floors or increase lighting to unnatural brightness. Police raids shut down DJs mid-song. Music could play, but bodies couldn't move. Rhythm became rebellion. The law assumed joy led to immorality. Only recently was it relaxed after generations treated dance as something to hide. In Venice, feeding pigeons in public spaces like St. Mark's Square is illegal and punishable by fines reaching over €500. Authorities argue droppings damage historic buildings, but the ban erased a centuries-old ritual shared by tourists and locals. Elderly residents were fined. Children were scolded. Breadcrumbs became contraband. In a city built on romance and nostalgia, a simple act of kindness toward birds turned into civic crime.
France once restricted ketchup in public school cafeterias, fearing children were abandoning traditional cuisine for American flavors. The condiment was allowed only with specific meals, not freely. Imagine being told sauce threatens national identity. Taste became politics. Food became culture warfare. Instead of teaching balance, the law controlled preference. A country known for liberty quietly regulated pleasure on plates, proving even something as small as ketchup could be treated as ideological corruption.
In Barcelona, drinking alcohol in public places like streets and beaches is illegal, with fines reaching hundreds of euros. Tourists celebrating sunsets were suddenly lawbreakers. Locals gathering casually faced enforcement. The city cited noise and disorder, but the law sterilized spontaneity. Festivals felt monitored. Laughter softened. Plastic cups replaced shared bottles. In a culture famous for celebration, joy was forced indoors, reminding everyone that fun requires official permission. Germany enforces silent Sunday laws that restrict noisy activities like mowing lawns, drilling walls, or playing loud music. Businesses close, complaints lead to fines. The idea is rest, but joy doesn't schedule itself. Birthday parties grow quieter. Celebrations pause. Even household chores must wait. Silence isn't requested, it's enforced. In a nation praised for order, happiness also follows timetables, proving structure sometimes outweighs human spontaneity. In parts of Switzerland, flushing toilets after 10 at night is considered noise pollution in shared apartment buildings. Tenants have received complaints and warnings. Imagine calculating basic bodily needs against legal quiet. Hygiene clashes with regulation. Respect for neighbors turns into anxiety. In one of the world's most advanced countries, even water flow can disturb peace. Comfort bows to silence, showing how order can quietly overrule personal ease. South Korea once enforced a law banning children under 16 from online gaming between midnight and 6 in the morning. Intended to protect health, it instead created loopholes. IDs were borrowed, accounts were falsified, fun went underground. Rather than teaching moderation, the rule taught evasion. Digital joy was treated as addiction by default. Eventually relaxed, the law showed how control often misunderstands passion in virtual worlds.
A thing in the United Kingdom. Alcohol regulations banned happy hour discounts in many areas to prevent binge drinking. Bars couldn't advertise reduced prices during certain hours. Safety was the excuse, but social rituals lost spontaneity. Even the word happy became suspicious. Pubs grew quieter. Celebration felt monitored. Responsibility replaced revelry. It proved that when fear dominates polity, joy is often treated as collateral damage.
In several Indian states, kite flying was restricted or banned due to injuries caused by glass-coated strings known as manya. Safety mattered, but the response erased tradition. Rooftops fell silent during festivals like Makar Sankranti. Skies emptied. Children watched drones replace kites. Instead of regulating materials, joy itself was grounded. A celebration centuries old faded under enforcement, showing how culture sometimes pays for neglect. In Thailand, stepping on money is illegal because coins and notes carry the image of the king. Even accidental contact with feet can result in arrest. Tourists chasing rolling coins have been detained. The law turns instinct into offense. Currency becomes sacred object. A simple reflex becomes political disrespect. In a country famous for smiles and hospitality, joy pauses when a coin falls. Celebration bends instantly into caution, proving reverence can override everyday human behavior. In Denmark, there was once a requirement that every car carry a baby carriage light, meant to warn others of prams at night, while safety-driven enforcement created absurd stops and fines. People were punished for forgetting symbolic precautions rather than causing harm. Responsibility turned ceremonial. Instead of trusting judgment, the state micromanaged preparedness. The rule blurred sense and symbolism, reminding citizens that compliance mattered more than context, even when danger never existed. In Iran, Western-style public celebrations like mixed-gender dancing at parties can lead to arrest, fines, or imprisonment. Weddings have been raided, music stopped mid-song, joy treated as rebellion. The law polices posture, movement, and sound. Private happiness risks public punishment. A celebration meant to unite families becomes an act of defiance. Fun survives only behind closed doors, showing how control can compress joy into secrecy rather than erase it completely. In Australia's Victoria state, it was once illegal to change a light bulb unless you were a licensed electrician. The rule aimed at safety but punished basic self-reliance. Homeowners faced fines for simple fixes. Independence became liability. Common sense bowed to certification. A burnt bulb transformed into a bureaucratic anxiety. The law assumed incompetence by default, turning daily life into paperwork and proving that overprotection can quietly erode personal freedom. In China, authorities have banned certain festivals and large-scale public celebrations during sensitive political periods. Fireworks, parades, and gatherings are restricted or cancelled overnight. Joy becomes conditional. Dates on calendars turn dangerous. People whisper instead of cheer. The uncertainty itself disciplines behavior. Celebration feels temporary, borrowed, revocable. Culture survives carefully. always watching clocks and announcements, showing how joy can exist but never feel fully owned. In Greece, high heels were banned at historical sites like the Acropolis to prevent damage to ancient stone. While preservation mattered, the rule punished tourists unprepared for fashion policing. Shoes became violations, romance turned into reprimand, the ground demanded compliance, beauty bowed to stone. Visiting history became a lesson in restraint, reminding everyone that admiration must be physically controlled to protect the past from the present. In the United States, some cities banned playing music loudly from cars, even at stoplights, with fines issued instantly. Bass became disturbance, rhythm became citation. Teenagers celebrating small moments were criminalized. The law aimed at noise control but erased spontaneous joy. A song couldn't finish before punishment arrived. Public space demanded emotional quiet, showing how shared environments often reject shared happiness. In North Korea, personal celebrations like birthdays are discouraged unless they align with state-approved holidays. Joy is centralized. Happiness must follow official calendars. Private milestones fade into silence. Gifts feel suspicious. Smiles feel rehearsed. Life events lose personal ownership. Celebration becomes performance, not expression. The absence of spontaneous joy speaks louder than propaganda, revealing how control doesn't just limit fun, it rewrites emotional permission. In Saudi Arabia, public celebrations like Valentine's Day were once heavily restricted, with shops banned from selling red items or gifts. Love itself became suspicious. Roses vanished overnight, couples whispered affection, joy learned camouflage. Though restrictions have eased, the memory remains. When affection requires caution, emotion reshapes itself. The law taught people that even love can be regulated when symbolism threatens authority. In Sweden, spontaneous street performances without permits can lead to fines. Musicians, dancers, and entertainers must apply in advance. Creativity requires paperwork. Inspiration waits in queues. A guitar becomes unauthorized equipment. The rule protects order but drains surprise from public spaces. Art loses urgency. Joy loses immediacy. Expression becomes scheduled, proving that when creativity needs approval, it arrives quieter than intended. In Finland, alcohol sales are strictly controlled by the state through government-owned stores called Alko. You cannot buy strong alcohol from normal shops, and store hours are limited. Spontaneous celebration dies at closing time. Weddings, festivals, and gatherings must plan joy in advance. Miss the hour, miss the moment. The law treats adults like children needing supervision. Pleasure becomes logistical. Fun requires clocks, calendars, and compliance, proving regulation can quietly drain emotion from celebration. In South Africa, trading or selling food on the street without permits can lead to fines or confiscation. Informal vendors selling snacks during festivals are often shut down. Culture loses flavor. Music plays, but food disappears. The law prioritizes order over tradition. Joy smells like bureaucracy. Street food, once community glue, becomes illegal activity. Celebration without taste feels hollow, showing how rules can sterilize culture while claiming safety. In the United States state of Alabama, confetti and glitter were restricted in some public events due to cleanup concerns. Celebration debris became environmental crime. Parties felt unfinished. Parades dulled. The sparkle of joy was replaced by caution. While cleanliness mattered, expression suffered. Celebration became visually muted. A moment meant to explode with color instead whispered compliance, proving joy is often the first thing sacrificed for convenience. In China, video games depicting certain themes like ghosts, time travel, or excessive fantasy are banned. Fun must obey ideology. Imagination becomes dangerous. Entire genres vanish overnight. Players adapt or stop dreaming. Stories flatten. Escapism feels censored. The law decides what worlds may exist in minds. Joy is filtered before reaching screens, reminding people that even fantasy is monitored when control fears creativity. In Italy, throwing rice at weddings has been restricted in many cities due to cleanliness and safety concerns. A symbol of blessing turned into nuisance. Couples are fined, guests hesitate, celebration becomes cautious choreography. Tradition fades quietly. Instead of regulating materials, the ritual itself was discouraged. Love ceremonies lost texture. The moment survives, but stripped of spontaneity, showing how rules can erase emotion while preserving form. In Indonesia, public displays of affection like kissing can lead to fines or detention in certain regions. Love becomes private property. Hands separate instinctively, smiles stiffen, couples self-police emotions. The law claims morality but produces fear. Joy shrinks into silence, affection hides in shadows. A universal human expression becomes risk, proving control often targets visible happiness first. In Norway, alcohol advertisements are completely banned. Bars cannot promote drinks publicly. Celebration has no voice. Joy whispers instead of calling. The intent is health, but the effect is emotional flattening. Social rituals lose energy. Choice exists, but excitement fades. When fun can't be advertised, it feels unofficial. Pleasure becomes something to discover secretly rather than share openly. In China, karaoke songs are screened and banned if lyrics reference politics, rebellion, or sensitive history. Singing becomes surveillance. Joy pauses at every chorus. A wrong lyric can end a night. Fun becomes cautious recitation. Instead of losing voices, people lose expression. Music survives, but meaning is amputated, showing how joy without freedom sounds hollow. In Switzerland, hanging laundry on Sundays is restricted in some areas to preserve quiet and aesthetics. Clean clothes become disturbance. Domestic joy waits till Monday. Routine bends to silence. The rule protects calm, but interrupts life. Even productivity must pause. Order overrides necessity. A simple act becomes social offense, proving how deeply regulation can penetrate everyday living. In Spain, traditional tomato-throwing festivals, like La Tomatina, now limit participants and charge entry fees. What began as chaotic joy became ticketed control. Fun is rationed. Spontaneity replaced by wristbands. Celebration turns commercial and monitored. The mess remains, but freedom shrinks. A festival survives, but its soul is managed, reminding us that joy can exist while being quietly domesticated. In the United States city of Carmel by the Sea, wearing high heels taller than 2 inches requires a permit from City Hall. The rule was created to avoid lawsuits from people tripping on uneven sidewalks. Romance meets paperwork. Fashion becomes liability. Tourists unknowingly break the law while walking scenic streets. A town known for beauty quietly regulates appearance. Joyful strolls turn into legal risk, proving even elegance must ask permission when fear of blame dominates policy. In South Korea, loud cheering during certain exam periods is discouraged or restricted nationwide. Construction pauses. Events quiet down. Celebrations are postponed for weeks. The entire country lowers its voice for students. Support becomes silence. While respect for education is admirable, joy freezes. Birthdays feel muted. Life waits for tests to end. A shared future demands temporary emotional sacrifice, showing how collective pressure can pause everyday happiness. In Canada, some cities restrict snowball fights under assault or nuisance laws. Children throwing snow can technically face legal consequences if complaints arise. Play becomes potential violence. Laughter risks citation. Winter joy feels monitored. While rarely enforced, the existence of such rules reshapes behavior. Fun shrinks preemptively. The law sees harm before happiness, reminding people that even innocence can be criminalized by overly broad regulation. In China, live streamers are fined or banned for excessive celebration, crying, or emotional expression online. Joy must stay moderate. Excitement becomes suspicious. Happiness gets algorithmically policed. Smiles are measured. Tears are censored. Fun must remain calm. The law doesn't ban emotion outright, but trims it down to acceptable shapes. Expression survives only within boundaries, showing how even digital joy must conform to state-approved tone. In Italy's Florence, eating food near historic monuments is restricted, with fines issued to tourists holding pizza or gelato. Hunger becomes violation. Convenience becomes disrespect. A city of art demands reverence over comfort. Visitors rush meals or hide bites. Joyful wandering turns cautious. Preservation wins, but human experience thins. History stays pristine while present moments feel constrained. Proving beauty often comes with behavioral cost. In Japan, speaking loudly on phones in public transport is socially unacceptable and sometimes enforced by transit staff. Joyful conversations shrink into whispers. Laughter is swallowed. Silence becomes courtesy. While respect for others is valued, expression dims. Emotional restraint becomes habit. The rule isn't always written but powerfully enforced. Public joy learns invisibility, showing how culture can regulate happiness without formal punishment. In New York City, permits are required for most organized public performances, even small ones. Street musicians can be fined without paperwork. Inspiration waits for approval. Creativity loses urgency. A song becomes an application. The city of art demands forms before feeling. Spontaneous joy becomes unauthorized activity, proving bureaucracy can slow the pulse of creative expression even where freedom is celebrated. In China, minors face limits on how many hours they can play video games weekly, enforced through ID systems. Joy is rationed. Fun follows schedules. Play becomes countdown. Instead of learning balance, children learn restraint through force. Leisure feels borrowed, not owned. The law treats joy like a resource to be controlled, showing how protection can feel indistinguishable from punishment. In France, public picnics are restricted in certain urban green spaces to maintain cleanliness and order. Families are fined for spreading blankets or opening wine. Leisure becomes regulated posture. Relaxation needs permission. A tradition of outdoor dining bends to signage. The grass stays clean, but moments lose warmth. Joy remains, but only where officially allowed, reminding people that freedom often comes with invisible fences. In the United Arab Emirates, loud music or dancing in public places without permission can lead to fines or detention. Celebration becomes location-specific. Joy checks surroundings first. Movement is cautious. Rhythm hides indoors. While private fun exists, public spontaneity shrinks. Happiness learns geography. The rule teaches awareness before expression, showing how joy survives by adapting rather than disappearing. In South Korea, eating strong-smelling food like instant noodles or fried snacks on public transport is discouraged and can lead to complaints or intervention. Hunger becomes embarrassment. Joyful eating turns apologetic. The rule protects comfort but polices culture. A simple meal feels disruptive. Pleasure becomes silent and quick. Food loses celebration and becomes necessity only, showing how shared spaces often demand emotional restraint alongside physical order.
In China, public celebrations during national mourning periods are banned, regardless of personal events. Weddings are postponed, music stops, joy becomes inappropriate by decree, individual life pauses for collective narrative, emotion waits for permission, even happiness respects hierarchy. The rule enforces unity but erases personal timing, reminding people that private milestones can be overridden by state emotion.
In China, public celebrations during national mourning periods are banned, regardless of personal events. Weddings are postponed. Music stops. Joy becomes inappropriate by decree. Individual life pauses for collective narrative. Emotion waits for permission. Even happiness respects hierarchy. The rule enforces unity but erases personal timing, reminding people that private milestones can be overridden by state emotion. In parts of the United States, playing music in parks without permits can lead to fines. A guitar becomes unauthorized equipment. Joy requires paperwork. Community moments dissolve into compliance. Spontaneity feels illegal. While order is preserved, warmth disappears. The rule transforms open spaces into controlled zones, proving that freedom without approval is often treated as disruption. In Japan, public trash cans are rare, and littering laws are strict. People carry garbage for hours. Eating outdoors becomes strategic. Joyful snacking feels burdensome. Cleanliness is achieved, but convenience suffers. Pleasure is planned, not spontaneous. The rule creates discipline, but joy learns patience, showing how order reshapes daily happiness. In Saudi Arabia, music volume at private gatherings can lead to police visits if neighbors complain. Celebration becomes cautious. Joy checks decibels. Laughter softens. The law values calm over expression. Fun survives but restrained. Emotional release becomes calculated. Happiness learns moderation not by choice, but by consequence. In China, festivals involving costumes resembling ghosts or spirits are restricted or banned. Celebration loses symbolism. Mythology fades. Cultural joy becomes sanitized. Fun exists but stripped of imagination. Tradition bends to acceptability. Creativity adapts or disappears, showing how control often targets symbolism before behavior. In France, loud music after certain hours can result in immediate fines, even for private parties. Celebration checks clocks. Birthdays end early. Joy obeys schedules. Neighbors become enforcers. The rule protects rest, but emotion feels temporary. Fun expires nightly, reminding people that time itself can regulate happiness. In Singapore, gathering in groups without permits during certain periods can lead to penalties. Community joy feels risky. Even standing together feels monitored. Celebration becomes calculated spacing. Social instinct bows to regulation. Order replaces warmth. The rule teaches distance before connection, showing how joy adapts under surveillance. In Bhutan, festivals are carefully regulated to align with cultural preservation and spiritual conduct. Excessive commercial fun is discouraged. Celebration must remain pure. Joy is guided, not free. While tradition is protected, spontaneity fades. Fun feels supervised. Happiness exists, but within sacred boundaries, proving that even joy can be curated in the name of meaning.